Hi, I'm Fraser Douglas, the avid tent camper. This is the first week in February, and the weather is absolutely gorgeous here. The high today is supposed to be around 70, and the rest of the week is going to be in the 60s with a chance of rain every day. So Abe and I decided to pack our car and come camping at a state park near our house. I thought I would use this opportunity to also tell you about the new chuck box that I just made over the last few weeks. Let me begin with a little history. Wooden storage boxes have been used by travelers and campers for over 2,000 years. These boxes were built in a variety of sizes and shapes, but they were all used to organize and protect the travelers' or campers' possessions. These wooden boxes were especially popular in the 1800s when hardy pioneers loaded their families and their possessions into wagons or carts and migrated into open territories in order to find a better life. Some of these boxes were called sea chests, some were called carriage trunks. In the later 1800s, some of the nicer boxes were called steamer trunks. But every family had several of these wooden boxes to organize and protect their possessions. When traveling, most families camped out overnight, and they used some of these small boxes as benches or stools or small tables or storage shelves. And when they reached their final destination, these wooden boxes became important pieces of furniture in their simple log cabins. In the mid-1800s, Charles Goodnight built a large box called a chuck box on the back of a wagon. And this chuck box was used to organize and protect kitchenware and food staples that were needed to feed cowboys who were driving cattle from Texas up to Kansas. When recreational tent camping became popular in the 1930s and 40s, most families just packed their food and kitchen supplies in small boxes and picnic baskets. But a few innovative individuals and families continued the chuck box tradition. And now, over the past 20 years, dozens of builders have presented chuck boxes and chuck box plans on the internet, but most of these boxes and plans appear to have important limitations. For example, the discussions and photos never show you how the chuck box should be packed in a car with an ice chest and other camping equipment. Second of all, most of the photos and discussions suggest that when you arrive at your campsite, you should unload your chuck box and set it up on a picnic table or somewhere else in the campsite. But many of these wooden boxes filled with kitchen equipment and food weigh almost 100 pounds and would be extremely difficult to move around the campsite. Furthermore, the original chuck boxes were never removed from the wagon because moving them to set up somewhere in the camp and putting them back into the wagon would be wasted time and effort. Third, most of the boxes do not appear to be large enough to hold all of the kitchenware and food that would be needed for a camping trip. And there's no commonly accepted logic for deciding what food and kitchen items to pack in a chuck box and what food and kitchen items to pack elsewhere in the campsite. And finally, many of these photos and presentations suggest that the primary purpose of a chuck box is to provide a place to store and set up your camp stove. When historically the primary purpose of the chuck box was to store the kitchen utensils and food that's necessary to prepare the next meal or two, and to provide a level table workspace for cutting vegetables, cutting meats, mixing ingredients, making dough, and pastries. Now, let me tell you how I built our box. When planning this project, I considered 4 important factors. First of all, I wanted it small enough to fit into the back of this Ford Expedition along with our ice chest and other camping equipment. Because when we travel, we like to stop in rest stops to prepare our lunch. Second of all, I wanted it large enough to hold 2 standard 12-inch by 12-inch milk crates because we can pack the food and kitchenware needed to make several meals into 2 milk crates. Third, I wanted it to look like it could have been made in the 1800s so that I could use it to carry my axes and or kitchenware when making historical presentations at the local museum. And finally, I tried to build it for less than $100, but unfortunately I did not succeed here. So now let me describe how I made this box. First of all, I considered the amount of space that was available in our car and used this information to construct a frame from 2x2 lumber. This frame measured 31 inches wide and 14 inches front to back. And then I used some scrap 3/8-inch low-grade plywood that was laying in my garage to make the bottom of the box. Each end was made with 1x4 pine boards cut 16 inches high. Then I attached the 2 ends to the bottom. I made the front with 1x4 pine also, but this time I placed them horizontally, and you can see that I had to rip a small piece to fit in the middle. I used boards from an old shipping pallet to make the trim bracing on the ends and in the middle. The top and the back were made from 3/8-inch plywood, and I used strap hinges to hold them together. When placed with its backside down, this box becomes a good chuck box. The final outside dimensions for the box shown in this position is 34 inches wide, 15 inches high, and 16 inches deep. I painted that rough plywood floor green to cover up some of the blemishes, and then I applied 2 coats of polyurethane to the rest of the chest. Notice how the polyurethane brings out the grain and darkens the knots of the pine, gives the plywood a rich color, and darkened the trim that was taken from the pallet. Finally, I used an old belt to make a closure system and added 3 decorative corner braces to each side of the front. Okay, well, let me show you how this chuck box is set up. We just arrived in our campsite and we backed up, and I wanted to show you the back of the car. Now, what I've got here, my tent, our tent, here's a mattress, here's some more mattresses, our cooler, here is our chuck box right here, and we'll be opening that in just a minute. But right back here, I've got 2 chairs and a table. If Ava and I were stopping at a rest area for lunch, we'd set up our chairs, but I'm gonna just put them on the ground for right now. And this is a roll top table. We can set that table up, but I'm gonna just put that on the ground now. And I've got a little buckle up here. And I open the chuck box. Now, I've got 2 milk crates in here. This one is basically our picnic basket. It's got our plates, our cups, our forks, our cooking utensils, some dish detergent and wash rags. Everything that we need to be able to serve us a lunch is in that milk crate. In this milk crate, we have a variety of snack foods that we might want to eat for lunch. I've got some cookies in here, some Pringles, some bread, onion, what else? Raisins, sugar, tea for hot tea, and so forth. And then we also have 2 Ocean Spray jugs full of water right in that little crack. Our perishable food is right here in the cooler, and all I have to do is move this bag and open the cooler in order to get to that perishable food. Now when we set up camp, I'm going to rearrange the baskets in here. I'm going to move this box, the picnic basket, into our kitchen and put another food basket in here that's going to contain flour and cornmeal and pancake mix and stuff that we might want to cook during our camp. Those milk crates are packed inside the car. Well, we've got our campsite set up and we are starting to cook our dinner. Ava is wrapping some corn in tin foil. You'll see we've got our chuck box there and food preparation area. Now we have 2 milk crates with nothing but food in them, and we've moved one of the milk crates into our kitchen shelter. You'll see the coolers right beside the chuck box. Yeah, we're going to grill some pork chops. Ava's fixing the pork chops right now, and you'll see we got some lettuce. We're going to make some rice also. Okay. Just another view of Ava preparing our dinner, so I'm going to join her. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this little video about old wooden storage boxes and about the little chuck box that we made. For more information about kitchen gear and other tent camping equipment, please visit my website, moderntentcamping.com. Remember, take more trips, travel further, visit more attractions, and save money. Go tent camping.